Hello and welcome to BeamNG Drive. I'm davidinark, and today I'm going to do something a little different. One of the questions that I get is how do I put things like the shed on a flatbed truck, and or in general, how do I use the node grabber to either like lock things down, or if you saw the recent channel update video where I used the node grabber to actually grab the back of the truck and pin it down. We're going to talk about how all of that stuff works here in this episode, so we're going to check this out. All right, so first and foremost, I spawned in the flatbed truck, and then I spawned in the shed as a new object. And at this point, there are a couple of things that you could try to do. If you hold the control key on your keyboard and you point to an object, you will start to see these little dots. Those are all nodes. So I could theoretically use my mouse, hover over a node so that it turns orange, and then I can pick that node up. Notice I'm just dragging my mouse, and I can move the building around. Now, if you notice, it says strength of 30%. So while I am holding down the mouse button, I can roll the mouse wheel up, and it will increase that strength as I roll it up. Likewise, if I roll it down, it will decrease the strength. So I could actually have a node with a 0 strength, or I can do a node with 100% strength. And sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Hang on. There. Okay. All right. So what I could do is theoretically I could grab this node and I could attempt to drag the building up onto the flatbed, which probably, okay, well, I guess technically that works. That is ugly. Look at there. I destroyed the exhaust of the truck. So, yeah, not too pretty, but as you can see, I'm grabbing a node and I'm just dragging and peeling off pieces. So as you can see, that's not very effective. So let me tab over to the shed and hit home so that it gets reset, and tab back over to the truck, and actually I'll hit home on there as well. Get everybody reset. So how I normally put a shed on a truck is I make sure that I'm in windowed mode, right? So not full screen. Then I pause the physics, and then I do free cam because it gives me more freedom in terms of moving the camera around so I can see what I'm doing. And then you're going to press F11 on the keyboard, and that will take you into editor mode. Now, once you're in editor mode, over on the left-hand side, the very first option over here in this second row of icons is the object editor. So you want to make sure that is selected, and then you want the second item down, which is the move selection. All right. So once you have that, then over on the right side, you click on the side arrow for mission group, and then scroll all the way to the bottom and find you have a couple of these BeamNG logo items. One is the player, which is the first vehicle that usually is the first vehicle that was, or first item that was placed on the map. And then everything after that is called clone. It'll be clone 1, 2, or clone, and then I think it's clone 0, 1, 2, 3. So that is subsequent items. All right. So once I click on clone, you'll see that I get these arrows. And so I can use blue to move up and down. That is the X-axis. Then, or maybe that's the Y. I don't know. Anyway, maybe that's Z. Anyway, you can move this up and down. I can use the green one to move back and forth. And I can use the red one to move side to side. So I can move my camera around, and then I can position the shed so that it sits, right now it's above the flatbed. Pardon me. And then I can move this down. Now the secret here is you don't want the flatbed and the shed to be, you know, you don't want the shed inside the trailer like this, because that's basically you're trying to merge those two together, and you don't want that. You want the shed to be just resting on the flatbed. So I usually put it just a hair above, just so you can get a feel for what that looks like. That actually looks a little low, but let's just try that. There we go. All right. So then I look at the back, and I try to look side to side, and because I want it, you know, as centered as I can on that trailer. And then what you can do is, even in edit mode, I can hit J, and that will turn the physics back on. And so then I can see that, yep, that looks pretty good. All right. So if I get out of edit mode, hit F11 to get out, and then turn off the free cam. All right, so I'm back in the truck. Now, if you've seen my videos on this, you know what is about to happen. With this shed, if you get the truck up to 30 miles an hour or more, the shed, or if I go over bumps, you'll notice that the shed is going to bounce off the truck, right? Because the shed is just resting on the flatbed. It's not attached to it in any way. So we need to next attach this shed to the flatbed. So again, I'm going to freeze physics. I'm going to free cam. And then we're going to go into edit mode. I'm going to, now you'll notice that over here on the right hand side, even though it's the clone is selected, it's showing the mover icons on the truck. So anytime I'm doing something like this, I go ahead and pick a different object and then come back to the object I actually want to move, just because the game gets a little weird. So again, I need to position the shed on the trailer, or close to it. All right. Now, in order to, whoops, that's a little too close to the front. All right. In order to bring up the node grabber, you have to be in play mode. You cannot be in editor mode. Well, I take that back. You might be able to, let me see something. No. Yeah, so I'm holding control, and I don't have access to that. So you have to be out of editor mode, and you have to have physics unfrozen. All right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to attach this node of the trailer, of the shed, to, let's say, this node down here of the truck. Now, before you do that, my recommendation is that you click on one of the nodes. So I'm going to point to a node. I'm going to hold my mouse button down, and I'm going to roll the mouse all the way down, because I want 0 strength. I want them attached, but I don't want the shed to move, if at all possible. So when you drag down, you'll see that when the two nodes are able to be coupled, it turns green. So I can click the middle mouse button, and now the shed is attached to the truck at that point. But you can see that that caused the shed to shift, so I need to also attach here. That should help center things up a little, not exactly, but close. All right, so that's just the back of the shed. I would like to have all 4 corners attached, locked down. So I'm going to grab the front corner of the shed here. Okay, the problem I have here is it's hard to tell what's what. So, I'm going to attach that to, I'm just going to grab somebody down here. I have no idea. Yikes. All right, so let's go to the other side and see if we can find something similar. So here's this, and I cannot see. All right, so sometimes getting the camera right is a bit of a pain. So we're just going to attach this here. All right, so now I have 4 points of the shed attached to the truck. So now, if I start driving the truck, oops, there we go. Now when I start driving the truck and it's moving away from me, we can see that the shed is hanging on, right? I mean, it's doing some serious bouncing. However, because I have my nodes locked together, the shed's not going anywhere, and I can keep on driving right up the ramp and off the side, and this should, well, it did some damage. More to the truck than the shed, I think. Wow. The truck is not, well, the truck is not good. Yeah, well. So, unfortunately, what that means is that when I hit home and tab over to the shed and hit home, these two guys are still separated. So, there's a fix for that as well. I'm going to pause physics. I'm going to hit free cam. All right. We're going to go back into edit mode and grab player, then grab the clone. Now, one of the other ways you can move things around is through this white dot, which actually lets you move it on all three planes, but things get a little weird when you do that, so be careful if you start playing around with that. I'm going to move this here, move this back a little bit, move this down. So one of the things you can do is once you have your two objects pretty well lined up where you want them, you can get out of edit mode and again re-enable the physics. And now what you can do is when you get back out of free cam, right now I am in, let's see, I think I'm looking at the shed. I can hit control home. That sets that as the home position. Tab. So now I'm looking at the truck, and again I can hit home. And so now I've not coupled them. I've just placed the shed on the trailer. But when all right, so we lost the trailer now, or the shed. If I hit home, the truck gets sent back home, and then I tab over to the shed, and when I now press home on the shed, because I reset the home position, the shed is on the truck. And so at this point again, I could grab a node and I could attach it to the bed there, and then we could do the same thing here. So now I have the front attached and secured, but I don't have the back secured. And actually, you notice that it kind of fell down in there. So it's got some issues, but that's okay. So at this point, if I tab back to the truck again and off we go, we have the shed attached at the front, not the back in this particular case. In fact, you should see it probably start bouncing. Well, maybe not, because it's, yeah, that shed's kind of in the trailer, but wahoo! Oh. There you go. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that is using the node grabber to connect points together, and as you can see, there are nodes all over the place. So I could actually grab one of these nodes on the shed and find a place on the ground. Oh, actually, if you just come to the ground and you click your middle mouse button, I have now attached the back of the shed to the ground, and I can do the same thing here, or in midair, kinda. In fact, that is in midair. And so now, if I drive the truck away, you'll see that the shed is getting pulled by those nodes, and eventually it should come off, except the shed is buried into the truck. So now I kind of have this tug of war going. Come on. Yeah, let's go. Man, it's fighting. It's fighting. Come on. Well, the shed itself is buried in the bed of the truck, so that's definitely a bit of a problem. But I'm curious to see what happens here. I've never tried this before. If I drive through where those nodes are. Huh. Come on, man. That's ridiculous. Okay. So my problem is that the shed, when it reappears, is buried in the trailer. The other thing you noticed is, you may notice, is when I hit the home key, the nodes are still there. So to get rid of this node attachment, you hold down the control key, point to the node, hold your mouse button down, and then you should be able to just middle click, and that will clear all of the nodes. So because the shed spawned into the back of the truck, I'm going to freeze physics, go into editor. I'm going to raise this. Oops, sorry, get the clone. I'm going to raise this up just a, whoa, just a hair. Oh, well, this is what happens when you don't free cam. As you can see, things went a little crazy. Oh, no. This is what happens when you don't free cam. So again, I have to get out of edit mode. Like to free cam. There we go. Go back into the editor. Raise it up. Turn on the physics. There we go. Okay, so now the shed is just resting on the trailer. So now, if I were to set a node here and set a node here, now we have that trailer, the shed, attached to the floor, and when I drive away, it should eventually pull that shed off. There he goes. Because the shed is attached to these nodes back here. Now, part of the reason why it took so long is because I have the strength set at 0. If I had the strength set at 100, then of course it would fly off instantly. But anyway, there you go. And that's all I did. I can hold control, click, and middle click, and that gets rid of the nodes right there, and you can call it good. So there you go. That is putting a shed, or anything else for that matter. So for example, if I wanted to put a car on the flatbed, I could jump in here to vehicles. We can grab an SBR4. Let's see, let me grab a game one. There we go. Tell it to spawn a new object. It will create one over here. Again, I can freeze physics, free cam, editor mode. Now you'll notice I have another clone here, but this is clone 0. Pick up the car, move it over. It's not quite where I want it, so we can move back here. I can also raise that up just a little bit. There we go. And again, I can unfreeze the physics so I can get a feel for where the car needs to be. Get out of editor mode. Get out of free cam. I don't know why it doesn't work. Okay. And there you go. If I want to bolt the car down, I hold control. I grab a node and I attach the node to the truck. And now that car is bolted down on that side. And I do the same thing maybe on this side. And that's a little weird, honestly, but that's okay. So now we hop into the truck. And you see the car is bolted down, so I can drive away without fear of the car falling off, at least from the back. Now, of course, there are ways to make the car fall off. Yeah, as you can see, because I didn't have the car bolted at the front, only the back stayed attached. And that is why I love BeamNG Drive. So there you go. I realize that may be perhaps a bit long-winded for some folks, but I wanted to cover several of the bases in terms of dealing with nodes and placing objects on top of other objects like a flatbed truck. And hope you enjoyed the video. Got any questions, problems, suggestions, horror stories? Feel free to leave those down in the comment section below. And thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time on BeamNG Drive.